Hi, everybody. I'm attorney Allison Poirier, and today's Facts in 5 video is all about estate planning for your pets. So, one of the most common requests that I get for people who come to see me to prepare an estate plan is I want to make sure my spouse is taken care of, or I want to make sure my kids are taken care of. But for a lot of people, when we're talking about making sure our family is looked after we pass away, that includes our pets. Because if a lot of my clients are anything like me, pets are family. They're my little kids. So, along with my actual human kids. So, if something were to happen to me, I would want to make sure that they're taken care of. So, that's one of the goals that you can accomplish with an estate plan is making sure, again, not only the humans in your life are going to be taken care of, but also those four-legged friends of ours. So the first step is figuring out who's going to be the caregiver for your pets. So is it a friend? Is it a family member? Most times it works best for someone who knows you, knows your love for your pets, and would care for them the same way you would. Also, too, if it's someone who already has a pre-established relationship with your pets, clearly that's going to provide a better result and maybe less anxiety and less of a hard transition for the pet when they have to move or be transitioned over to the new caregiver. So it can be a friend, as I mentioned, it can be a family member, so a spouse or a child. Or maybe if you're someone who doesn't have a specific person in mind for who you want the new caregiver to be, it could also be a nonprofit organization. A lot of local animal shelters already have the mechanisms in place to take in pets for people who have passed away. So they already have the vets in place. They already have people lined up to be able to take care of them and feed them and walk them and all give them all the attention that they're going to need from day to day. So maybe an option is to talk to a local nonprofit, a local animal shelter that you know of that has a good reputation, and maybe do your homework in that regard too. Talk to friends, talk to neighbors and people in the community and see if they have any recommendations. That's usually always a good place to start. And maybe you find that they're the ones that's really going to be in the best position to look after your pets after you pass away. Also, be in mind if you're working with a nonprofit organization or working with a animal shelter, they might already have formal caregiver agreements in place or bequest agreements. So you may have to enter into a written contract with them just so it's very clear upfront the type of care that they're providing, and also if there's any other things that they're going to require of you. The number one thing being that they might require a bequest. So they might require you to provide some additional funds to take care of the pet. And that might be something you would want to do even if you're leaving your pet to a friend or a family member. It takes money to make sure animals are looked after. So if that's something you have the ability to do, so if you are going to have sufficient funds to provide a little bit for the care of your pets after you pass away, probably the number one consideration is, well, what is that number? How much money should I leave behind for the care of my pets? And if you have an abundance of funds, maybe you can just pick a nice big round number, $5,000, $10,000. That should be appropriate. And that's fine. Maybe if you want to get something that's going to be a little bit closer to what your pet is actually going to require, another option is run an annual budget. How much annually do you spend on food, on medicine, on vet bills, toys, anything else that your pet requires, boarding if you go on trips? So again, thinking if you're picking a friend or a family member, they might sometimes have to leave your dog at a kennel or, make arrangements for other care for the pet if they have to leave town. So think about what all of those costs are. Again, run that annual budget, figure out what that number is to the best of your ability, and multiply it by what you think your pet's anticipated lifetime is going to be. So, or life expectancy is going to be. And that should maybe give you a closer number for what that amount should be leaving behind for your pets. Once you figure out what that amount is, the next question is, well, how do you leave it? So do you leave it outright to the person or to the nonprofit to say, I'm just giving you this amount, and if there's money left over, if I've given too much and there's money left over after my pet passes away, you can just keep it. Maybe that's one way to do it. And a lot of times simplest is best. So if the person that you're choosing is someone you trust, or again, it's a really good nonprofit organization, maybe that works out absolutely fine. But also, if you're reluctant about just handing over a lump sum of money to the person who's going to be looking after your pet, another option is to leave that money in trust. So maybe appoint someone separate from the person who's the caregiver to be in charge of the funds that are going to be used for the pet's care. And I find this approach is probably more common if the dollar amount that you're leaving for the pet's care is larger. So if you have an animal that's going to require a substantial amount of care, so a substantial amount of vet bills due to medical ailments and such, then maybe a trust is another way to go. Or if you have a lot of pets, so you have 5 or 6 cats, dogs, horses, whatever they might be, then maybe that dollar amount that you're leaving behind for those animals is larger. So again, maybe in that sense, a trust makes sense for you. So that is information I had about pets. All of this can be accomplished in the context of an estate plan, usually under a will or under a revocable trust. So if you have any questions about this, pets are a passion of mine. I have a house full of animals at home. So please feel free to contact me if you need more information, and I would be happy to share it with you. Thank you so much.